I did my project on CrimeSolutions.Gov by Dr. Phelan Wyrick. The year of publication was June 2011 by the National Institute of Justice. Here's a video of how it can help meet your community's justice needs.
Police responded to another assault last night, reported in the 4800 block of the restaurant district. Law enforcement believes that local gang members are responsible for the recent series of robberies and assaults. Police are seeking information from community members. Community leaders and residents are demanding answers. They are asking police what will be done to stop the recent rash of crime.
Officer Phillips.
Hey, it's Chief Lee. You got a minute?
Sure.
Just spoke with the mayor. She wants to know what we're doing about the gang violence. Pull the working group together. I want to meet tomorrow.
You got it. What do you have in mind?
I did some research a few weeks ago and had some good information that's going to help us.
Great. Where'd you find the info?
You should check it out. It's called CrimeSolutions.Gov.
A few weeks back, Chief Lee was looking for better ways to combat the string of gang-related incidents in his community. He knew that it was important to focus on approaches that could deliver results. He searched online for answers, but was overwhelmed by what he found. Could he trust the information? What had been successful before? Did he have the time to sort through everything? In need of help, the chief called up an old friend in a neighboring jurisdiction. His friend told him about CrimeSolutions.Gov, a website that profiles justice-related programs that have been carefully evaluated and rates each one for practitioners and policymakers. CrimeSolutions.Gov is an easy-to-use resource offered through the U.S. Department of Justice. It was developed to help criminal justice, juvenile justice, and victim services professionals to be smarter on crime. Information found on CrimeSolutions.Gov helps take the guesswork out of decision-making by showing what has worked for other communities. Each program on the site has been carefully evaluated to see if it achieves its intended outcome. Based on those evaluations, CrimeSolutions.Gov reviewers give each program a rating to indicate if it had effective outcomes, promising outcomes, or no effects. That rating is posted on CrimeSolutions.Gov on the program profile, along with information to help guide the implementation process. This allows leaders to replicate successful programs, improving outcomes, and saving valuable time and resources. CrimeSolutions.Gov is the starting point for your research on what works in criminal justice, juvenile justice, and crime victim services. The website offers multiple search options to identify programs that address the unique needs of your community. Once you have identified a potential solution, CrimeSolutions.Gov program profiles allows you to answer a variety of questions. What are the program goals? Who is the target group? How was it evaluated? What results has it achieved in the past? Who can I contact who has used this approach? Using CrimeSolutions.Gov, Chief Lee found multiple approaches for dealing with the challenges he was facing. He was able to quickly distinguish what would be more likely to succeed and what might not. Some programs provided basic implementation guides and tools to direct the process. He also found contact information for those who had initially developed the programs and could share lessons learned. The next day, the chief met with his community working group to discuss approaches from CrimeSolutions.Gov that could reduce their gang and violent crime issues. The working group was made up of a mix of professionals and community members. Using CrimeSolutions.Gov, the working group identified a number of potential evidence-based programs to be included in a broader strategic plan to address their community-specific needs. Working group members used CrimeSolutions.Gov program profiles as a starting point for considering the merits of different programs and approaches. In the end, they were able to develop a response that was tailored to their own community. knowing that they were also building on a track record of past success. Just like the members of this working group, justice professionals across the country are realizing the value of using data, like that featured on CrimeSolutions.Gov, to help combat crime. A growing number of communities stand as models for the outcomes that can be achieved through the use of evidence-based programs.
I think access, first and foremost, is the key challenge. Much of the really high-quality research is published in academic journals. It's difficult to get a hold of, and it's also difficult to interpret and understand. The technical language and statistical methodology can be a little daunting for folks that are delivering services at the state and local level. And many of us can't afford to access, these expensive portals that the research is disseminated through. So being able to access CrimeSolutions.Gov and have a free resource where everything's already been summarized for you, put into plain language that can be easily understood by practitioners is really helpful in kind of surmounting that challenge.
We're all facing a whole variety of very complex challenges. Policing by nature is very, very challenging. And it's very difficult always to go back to the drawing board and start fresh again with a fresh new idea. So I think that if there's a foundation of research that exists out there and you're able to take things that have been validated and successful in other neighborhoods and implement them as a starting point within your own communities and neighborhoods, that it speeds up the process extremely rapidly and you become more efficient in resolving problems within your geographic areas.
Because we have limited dollars, agency funders are looking for us to do the very best job that we can do, and in some cases, better than the best job that we can do. And by looking at the research that's available through us, then we can actually achieve a higher level of success than we thought that we were achieving. And again, an organization like CrimeSolutions that has the various studies really at your fingertips almost.
Local community leaders met last night to discuss solutions to rising. Police have apprehended a suspect in last night's assault and are pursuing additional leads. The police department is implementing a new collaborative approach to reduce gang and violent crime. It will include strategies.
Chief Lee.
Hey, Don, it's Captain Sullivan. How you been?
Great. What's up?
We've seen a surge of shootings in our county over the past couple of weeks. I know your crime issues are different, but do you have any suggestions?
Check out CrimeSolutions.Gov. It was a lifesaver for us.
Crime solutions?
Yep. It's a great resource for solutions to a wide variety of law enforcement and public safety challenges. Sooner or later, people are going to start asking what steps you're taking to address this spree of violence. When the mayor called, it really helped that I had already visited CrimeSolutions.Gov, and I knew where to turn for solid, research-backed information. It helped me decide what needed to be done. So, ask yourself, when you get that call, will you be ready?
CrimeSolutions.Gov provides real-world tools, research, and models for today's criminal justice, juvenile justice, and victim services leaders. It works with leading experts from across the justice community to ensure the quality of information provided. The proven justice-related strategies, implementation approaches, program results, implementation guides, and points of contact featured on CrimeSolutions.Gov help practitioners and policymakers be smarter on crime. Using CrimeSolutions.Gov, today's leaders can more efficiently use their limited resources to produce positive outcomes by replicating successful programs. CrimeSolutions.Gov. Reliable research, real results.
Dr. Phelan Wyrick is the program manager. He was a senior advisor to the Assistant Attorney General for the Office of Justice Programs in the U.S. Department of Justice. He joined the department in 1998 and has held the senior position in the National Institute of Justice and the Office of Juvenile Justice and Delinquency Prevention. In 2007, he was a recipient of the Attorney General Awards for Outstanding Contributions to the Community Partnership. He is the department co-chair for the Defending Childhood Initiative and leads the OJP's Evidence Interrogation Initiative. Prior to joining the department, he served as a research associate in the City of Westminster Police Department in Orange County, California. He received his doctorate in social psychology from the Claremont Graduate University. One of the lead researchers is Stephen Gies. From 1995 to 2003, he was a doctor of the philosophy and criminology in American University. From 1993 to 1995, he received a Bachelor's of Arts, Political Science, and Government. He's a senior research associate at the Development Service Group. May 1999. I'm running out of breath. One of the lead researchers, Stephen Gies. From 1995 to 2003, he was a doctor of philosophy and criminology in American University. From 1993 to 1995, he received a Bachelor of Arts, Political Science, and Government. He is a senior research associate at the Development Service Group, starting from May 1999 to now, a research manager with significant experience in managing longitudinal criminal justice research and technology projects, as well as gathering and analyzing data. Another lead researcher is Rob Garrett. In 1994, he received a bachelor's in sociology from the College of Charleston. In 2000, he received a master's in criminal justice from the University of North Carolina. 2004, he received a PhD in criminal justice from Rutgers University in Newark. He is affiliated with the Center for Problem-Oriented Policing and serves as an advisor for a coordinator for the annual International Herman Goldstein Awards for Excellence in Problem-Oriented Policing Services. He worked on projects in consultation for affiliation with the Department of Homeland Security, U.S. Border Patrol, the National Research Council, United States Department of Justice Office of Community-Oriented Policing Services, British Home Office Research Directorate, and Miami Police Department, and the New Jersey Department of Probation and Parole. His research has appeared in a variety of peer-reviewed outlets, including Criminology, Crime and Delinquency, Crime Prevention Studies, Criminology and Public Policy, the European Journal on Criminal Policy and Research, the Journal of Criminal Justice, and the Security Journal. Author of Migrant Death, Border Safety and Situation Crime Prevention in the U.S., Mexico Divide, 2007. He was a co-editor of the book Migration, Cultural Conflict, Crime and Terrorism in 2006, and the co-author of a book, chapter in Deadly Lessons Understanding the Lethal School of Violence in 2002. He was a private criminal and civil investigator where he worked with assortment of cases in federal and state levels. Another lead researcher was Edward Latessa. In 1979, he received a PhD from Ohio State University and is a professor and director of the School of Criminal Justice in the University of Cincinnati. He published over 140 works in the area of criminal justice, corrections, and juvenile justice. He's a co-author of 7 books, including Corrections in the Community of Corrections in America, directed over 150 funded research projects, including studies of day reporting centers, juvenile justice programs, drug courts, prison programs, intensive supervision programs, halfway houses, and drug programs. He assessed over 600 correctional programs throughout the United States and provided assistance and workshops in over 45 states. In 1989 to 1990, he served as the president of the Academy of Criminal Justice Sciences. He received several awards. In 2010, he received an Outstanding Community Partner Award, Maud Booth Correctional Services Award, Community Hero Award, the Bruce Smith Award, and the George Beto Scholar. 2009, he received the Mark Hatfield Award. 2008, received the Outstanding Achievement Award. 2007, received the August Balmore Award. 2004, received the Simon Dintz Criminal Justice Research Award. 2002, he received the Margaret Mead Award. 2001, the Peter P. Liggins Award. 1999, the ACJS Fellow Award. 1998, the ACJS Founders Award. 1992, the Amino Dents Award. The last lead researcher is Edward McGuire. He's a professor in the Department of Justice, Law, and Criminology in American University. In 1991, he received a bachelor's in criminal justice from the University of Lowell. From 1992 to 1997, he received a master's and PhD in criminal justice from the University of Albany. He has written and edited 3 books and more than 50 articles and chapters on various themes related to policing, crime, criminal justice, organization theory, and social science. Now I'm going to go over some key terms. The analysis of variance is a method for analyzing the differences in the means of 2 or more groups, allows researchers to determine if the differences between a control group and a treatment group are attributed in a dependent variable. Attribution, the loss of participation during the course of a study, which is often occurs because the subjects move or they refuse to participate in the study. Bivariate analysis is analysis that a relationship between 2 variables, such as a corrections and a one-way analysis of variance. Chi-square test is a statistical test used to compare differences between observed categorical data and expected data to determine if any difference occurred is the same or as by chance. Comparative effectiveness research, which is the CER, and is an evaluation approach to show the relative strengths and weaknesses of alternative interventions or programs on the same outcome. Contamination evidence rating element occurs when members of the control group or comparison group are exposed to the treatment being studied. The diffusion is also an evidence rating element, occurs when the effects or benefits of a program extended beyond the places, individuals, problems, or behaviors, directly or indirectly. Evidence rating is the 3 designations: effective green check, promising yellow check, and no effect red cross out. Its multiple green check boxes is used to represent greater extent of evidence. Fidelity is the degree to which programs, core services, components, and procedures are implemented as originally designed. Gray literature is the research or unpublished studies include dissertations, thesis, government reports, technical reports, conference presentations, and other unpublished sources. Heterogeneity refers to the variability of the effect sizes from different evaluation studies included in the meta-analysis. Internal validity is the degree to which observed changes can be attributed to the program. It depends on both research design and measurement of the program activities and outcomes. Maturation is when the observed outcomes are a result of natural changes of the program participants over time rather than because of the program impact. Meta-analysis is a social science method that allows us to look at the effectiveness across numerous evaluations of similar, non-identical programs, strategies, or procedures, and also is that it's systematic, quantitative analysis from multiple studies that address a set of related research hypotheses in order to draw a general conclusion. It develops support for hypothesis and procedure and an estimate of overall program effects. Multi-level models and hierarchical models is a statistical method that allows researchers to estimate separately the variance between subjects with the same setting and the variance between settings. Multivariate analysis is a research strategy and analytic technique that involves the investigation of more than 2 variables at the same time or within the same statistical analysis. Office of Justice Programs, OJP, works in partnership with the justice community to identify most pressing crime-related challenges confronting the justice system and to provide information, training, coordination, and funding of the innovative strategies and approaches to address these challenges. The following bureaus and offices are part of the Office of Justice Programs: the Bureau of Justice Assistance, the Bureau of Justice Statistics, the National Institute of Justice, the Office of Juvenile Justice Delinquency Prevention, the Office of Victims of Crime, and the Office of Sex Offender Sentencing, Monitoring, and Apprehending, Registering, and Tracking. Tier 1 outcomes refer to the general outcome constructs drug, substance abuse, mental, behavioral health, education, and victimization. Tier 2 outcomes refers to scientific outcome constructs property offenses, sex-related offenses, violent offenses, drug or alcohol abuse. Quasi-experimental design is a research design resembling an experimental design, which participants are not randomly assigned to the treatment and control groups, viewed as a weaker than experimental designs. Type 1 error is assigned as the alpha, often used as an indicator of change and failing react of null hypothesis that is actually false. Type 2 error is signified as a beta, often used to indicate the chance that an actual effect goes undetected. Variance is a statistical measure of how far a set of data points are dispersed from the mean or average for population or a sample. Next are some facts on the main topics found on CrimeSolutions.Gov. Corrections and reentry. Over the past 3 decades, the correctional population has increased from approximately 1.8 million in 1980 to nearly 7 million in 2011, with a majority of 70% under the supervision of community corrections, probation, or parole. During 2011, the number of persons under supervision or correctional authorities declined by 1.4%, making the 3rd consecutive year of decrease in correctional population. In courts, there is 3,648 special jurisdictions or problem-solving courts, which include drug, family, mental health, domestic violence, and veterans courts, as of December 31st, 2009. In 2006, state courts sentenced an estimated 69% of all individuals convicted of felonies to incarceration. Approximately 41% were sentenced to the state prison and 28% to county jails, with an average sentence length of 4 years, 11 months. 27% of convicted offenders were sentenced to probation with no prison or jail time, and 4% community service and an alternative sentence. Crime and crime prevention. According to the NCVS data, the violent crime rate, which includes rape, sexual assault, robbery, aggravated, and simple assault, rose from 22.6 victimizations per persons in 2011 to 26.1 in 2012. Crime not reported to the police and simple assault accounted for the majority of the increase. In 2012, the UCR violent crime rate remained virtually unchanged from 2011. Approximately 387 violent crimes, 100,000 individuals. The violent crime rate reported in 2012 represents the lowest violent crime rate since the 1970s. Violent crime had risen from 1962 through the early 1990s, when it peaked and then began to decline. Drug and substance abuse. In 2012, an estimated of 23 million Americans aged from 12 and older were current illicit drug users. This represents 9.2% of the population aged from 12 or older. Illicit drugs include marijuana, cocaine, heroin, hallucinogens, inhalants, prescription drugs used for non-medical purposes. In 2012, approximately 75.9% of youth aged from 12 to 17 reported seeing drug or alcohol prevention messages outside of school, and 75% reported seeing or hearing prevention messages at school. Juveniles. In 2008, an estimated of 60% of children in the United States were exposed to violence, crime, or abuse in their homes, schools, and communities within their past year. Approximately 46% were assaulted at least once in the past year, and 10% were injured in an assault. Child Protective Services agencies investigated nearly 2 million reports of maltreatment involving more than 3.5 million children in 2010. More than one-third of maltreatment victims were infants or toddlers, ages 0 to 3, with neglect being the most pervasive form of maltreatment, 62% of cases. Law enforcement. In 2007, 81% of local police officers were employed by a department that trained all new recruits in community policing, and increased from 73% in 2003. In 2012, local, state, and federal law enforcement officers made an estimated 12.2 million arrests. Technology and forensics. Nearly all local police departments authorized officers to use one or more types of less than lethal weapons during 2007. The most common was pepper spray, and an increasing number authorized the use of conducted energy devices, such as tasers. 60% of local police departments authorized CEDs in 2007, and an increase from 7% in 2000. In 2009, more than 400 public-funded forensic crime laboratories operating that year received over 4 million requests for a wide range of forensic services, such as DNA tests, controlled substance analysis, and latent fingerprint examination. An estimated of 1.2 million cases were backlogged to the end of 2009, not completed within 30 days, which was relatively unchanged from the backlog at the year end of 2008. Victims and victimization. Between 2010 and 2011, the overall victimization rate for violent crime increased from 17% from 19.3 to 22.5 victims per 1,000 persons aged from 12 or older. The increase in aggravated and simple assault accounted for the increase in total violence. In 2009, the total economic loss for victims was nearly $1.5 billion for violent crime and nearly $14.8 billion for property crime, for crimes both reported and not reported. Bias and faulty reasoning. Crime Solutions claim that justice practitioners of all levels can benefit from reviewing the profiles for programs and practices related to their field. It also says that even practitioners not in position to make decisions about replicating an evidence-based program can benefit from getting to know about programs that have produced results and those that haven't. But they provide no evidence showing that practitioners or agencies have benefited from using these programs listed on their website. Who are these people benefiting? Crime Solutions also lists programs that their reviewers rated as effective and promising, but it lacks evidence showing that practitioners who have attempted to implement these programs found them effective or promising. How do we know that they actually work? Additional information. Here I have an interview that Dr. Phelan Wyrick speaks about the importance of evidence-based practice in the criminal justice field, as well as Cabell Cropper, Executive Director of the National Criminal Justice Association, and Franklin Cruz of the Coalition of Juvenile Justice.
started the CrimeSolutions.Gov website in June of 2011, really to serve as a resource for practitioners and policymakers in the field of criminal justice, juvenile justice, and crime victim services, to really let them know what works in responding to these challenges. Well, I think that everybody who's working in any field really wants to know that their efforts and their activities are effective. And what we're doing with Crime Solutions is trying to provide information that's based on social science research that really underscores those programs that have had success in achieving their desired goals. And so at the federal level, here in the Office of Justice Programs, our function is to really take a lot of the programs and practices that have been developed at the local level and that have been tested and shown to be effective at the local level, and share that information with people all across the country. You know, one of the things we try to do with Crime Solutions is to make it very user-friendly and really something that was accessible to a lot of people. Well, we have really 3 ratings for programs on CrimeSolutions.Gov. We have an effective rating, a promising rating, and a no effects rating. And the difference is really our level of certainty in terms of the quality of the evaluation and the outcomes that we see. Rather than getting into specific program names and mentioning specific program names, what I will say is that Crime Solutions currently has, as of this taping, over 200 programs listed in criminal justice, juvenile justice, and crime victim services. And the effective programs run a broad range of topics. We have programs that serve juvenile offenders and help reduce recidivism. We have prevention programs that work even earlier for younger kids who are showing problem behavior and have been found to prevent delinquency later on. We have programs that are court-based that work with offenders and reduce recidivism for drug offending. We have law enforcement programs that reduce crime and violence in communities. So it's a broad range of topics, including working with victims, such as child victims, to reduce their symptoms of trauma that can also be related to later problem behavior. We tend to have a greater accumulation of evidence-based practices that are that target juvenile programs, and there's a variety of reasons for that. But there's really need across the board for building our evidence base. There's a lot of law enforcement programs still have not been very well evaluated, programs that have to do with serving victims. And then there's whole areas of crime that are really more emerging, such as cybercrime, identity theft, that we haven't developed strong approaches. We haven't developed and tested strong approaches in some of those areas as well. First of all, just basic research, understanding what kind of programs are out there. You can do a wide range of searches on CrimeSolutions.gov, so you can search by topic or terms and really get a better sense for what programs are out there that have shown effectiveness, as well as programs that haven't been effective. But also, students could approach it from another direction, which is to look at where research is really needed by identifying gaps in the research and asking questions about why is it that some areas are better represented than others. And you know, the answer to that is sometimes because the nature of the challenge defines how difficult it is to do evaluation in that area. And we might simply not be able to do as rigorous evaluation, or it's been very difficult to do evaluation that's rigorous enough in certain areas. I think particularly for graduate students who have a pretty advanced understanding of the field and want to really dive deeply. And for those who are involved in the research process itself, you know, there are some who may want to really drill into the methods that we use to assess the quality of evaluations and programs themselves. So there's a lot of different ways that people could look at the information on Crime Solutions. But certainly for those who are interested in getting into particular areas of practice, I would just recommend identifying the programs that would fall under that area and reading every program profile. Well, I think the evidence-based movement is really playing out across multiple disciplines right now. And in criminal justice and juvenile justice, crime victim services, I think we're going to see an increasing role. And it's going to come about for a variety of reasons. One simply being the pressures on budgets to make sure that we're investing our dollars in the wisest ways. Another is going to be the pressures to continue to increase the effectiveness of the justice system and to really demonstrate the effectiveness, because part of the evidence-based movement is a growing awareness that it's just not enough to provide anecdotes and stories to try to convey the quality and the effectiveness of your work. It goes well beyond that, and we need to be able to provide a rigorous evaluation effort to demonstrate our effectiveness.
These are some frequently asked questions associated with CrimeSolutions.Gov and their answers to them. Some general questions is, can I use CrimeSolutions.Gov rating system and a scoring instrument? And you can click it and it'll give you the answer right below. Also, there's a bunch of different questions. Are programs and practices implemented and evaluated outside the United States eligible for CrimeSolutions.Gov? And that's yes. And there's a bunch of more questions that you can go through. The next link is a journal in the National Institute of Justice, and it's from 2012, where Chief Jim Berman reflects on how law enforcement agencies can do a better job of using science and reduce crime by adopting evidence-based policing as a standard practice and partnering with universities or colleges. He just goes through what he did in his journal. And that's it. Thank you.